Now somebody's walking on the beach and they're playing freaking bagpipes. Hello, my name is Ria Windcaller, and I am the producer and cider MC of this weekly podcast, where we speak with makers, cider enthusiasts, and folks within the cider trade from around the world. Hip, hip, hooray! Bringing us into this year episode number 429 of Cider Chat is myself on a beach in France in the city of Saint-Malo, walking at night and hearing bagpipes in the distance. It was surreal. Absolutely spectacular night. Rather still night, little bit of wind. And I was walking towards the city, and out in the distance, I was hearing bells ringing that were pulling me towards the ramparts. These high stone walls that face out to the water, surrounding this very spectacular city, and one of the stops on the French cider tour. And wouldn't you know, there was someone practicing bagpipes. You could see the photo at the website and also at the Cider Chat Facebook page for this here episode 429. And in this episode, you're going to be hearing from some of the guests on the tour, something I like to do post every Totally Cider tour, with my new friends and old friends that I meet while leading cider tours around the world. And it's kind of a little surreal for me because you have been getting a couple episodes rolling out. We had the episode with Nick Showering, then we had the episode with Robert Van Worden, who is at Red Island Cider up in Prince Edward Island. That's up in Canada. Then we also heard from Alessio of Heartland Cider Works out in Oregon. And more recently, Stephen Sherman of Winchester Cider Works in Winchester, Virginia. So yes, I have bankrolled some episodes to keep you company, and me too, while I've been traveling about on the cider trail, both in Europe and in the United Kingdom, where I currently am. So I have a bit of catching up. I have lots of content, more reams of audio than my heart could ever desire, and trying to figure out how to keep on delivering it to you. But look, first, I got to go back to France. Despite being in the UK right now, I have to be back in France because I'm still processing, as I know many of the folks who are on that tour are doing too. It's always an epic experience first to meet cider friends worldwide and to have that kind of opportunity hanging out with them, and then to have an actual vacation with them at the same time. Friends that you didn't know you had in the world, and suddenly you do, from all different kinds of walks of life and all different kinds of relationships to cider. So we have, of course, cider makers who are commercial, cider makers who are enthusiasts, cider enthusiasts who are just cider enthusiasts, and then, of course, our very fun-loving travel agent that I work with in France. So it's kind of an amazing tour. I mean, I like to answer the question that I get, like, what was your favorite cider tour? And I'm going to answer that the same way that I answer the question, what's your favorite cider? And that's kind of like the next one in my glass. But, you know, each group that I have hung out with it's like a personal voyage journey. And I truly am creating memories of a lifetime. We could have just gone on and on. It was so delicious in so many ways, including the cider, of course, the Poix, the Calvados, the Pommeau, and seeing the different representations within that culture, too, of how people who are making cider there commercially, how they do it, and how it differs from one side to the other. That probably sounds familiar. If you're in the industry making cider yourself commercially, yeah, you know, everybody does a little bit different. But in such a condensed region, to have it be so diverse is pretty exciting too. So first we headed out to Normandy, and then down, well, actually, no. First we met up in Paris, That was so awesome, that first night meeting at the cider bar in Paris, and then headed out to Normandy. And we had a little bit of rain on this trip, but boy, everybody persevered, and it just like nothing was going to make a cloud. And we carried our own sunshine. We truly carried our own sunshine. Because when we headed down to Brittany, we went to a new location I haven't done on other tours. And at that site, we had the tour itself, and then we had these boxes of cheese that we picked up. And we got back on the bus, and we were bringing cider with us, and we were going to a castle, a ruined castle that I had scoped out on a previous trip. And this very short, it was probably like a 10-minute ride from that cidery to the castle. It started raining yet again. The bus driver and our tour guide was a little like concerned, do you want to do this? And I'm like, yes, full steam ahead. We're going to make magic happen, which is kind of how it works. And wouldn't you know it, we arrive and it was absolutely spectacular. I really recommend that you go check out the Instagram feed for Cider Chat Ciderville. And you'll see one photo where I'm popping a bottle of cider yet again. And we're up on top of not the rampart, but it's like the circular part of the rampart of this old ruined castle overlooking the water. It was just surreal. It was perfect for us. Absolutely perfect. And that's how this entire tour flew. It was just amazing. Culminating, as we always do, we had a number of cider dinners, but culminating with a cider dinner with our friend Eric Bordelet, who put on his Paris sommelier hat to the umpteenth degree. He was so excited for this dinner, and we had changed it up. Normally we do a Michelin Star Dinner with Eric. We had a different hotel, a different dinner site, and Eric went into his cellar and got some oldies and goodies. In fact, I have a bottle of a 2007 Cider Arcalet from Eric that he gave me. I'll get a photo of that. I'm not sure if I'll get it for this episode, but it's going to be going out at some point because I did record Eric speaking during that dinner. And what really, oh boy, I could talk about that dinner. All right, I'll share a little bit right now. It blew me out of the water. Like, I've known Eric for a number of years now. And he was, one thing, he was really excited about it. And that's always a good thing, right? To have any producer excited to hang out with you. And what he did here was really delve into the food and the cider. I talked about this before about pairing with food and cider. We know it's a thing out there in Ciderville. It's important, right? We say, okay, a dry cider is really good with pork or, with turkey or with fish or oysters. But what are the nuances there? How do you dig deep so you actually get that particular cider, the spices in that cider, the elegance of that fruit pairing with the dish? And what parts of that dish, what parts of the spices in that dish, how it was salted or peppered, or perhaps there was a little bit of coriander added, or a little orange peel, or another, I don't know, even like a coffee kind of essence in that dish that then melts with the cider itself. And that Ciderville is a whole other level that we were able to touch upon via our lovely guide, Eric Bordelet. He blew me out of the water. There's more to be said about that dinner because we also had a French producer joining us at that dinner and spending the night at the hotel with us by the name of Agathe Letellier. Boy, two powerful cider makers in one room was something. You had to be there. You had to be there because Eric eventually left. I could tell the guy was getting tired. He was maybe going to hang out more, and I'm like, Eric, you got to go. Like, he was picking up sorbs that day, which is quite a task. They are a palm fruit. They're related to the palms, apples and pears, and quince and medlars. They're tinier. They're the tiniest of all. And he ferments it into his delightful drink, gourmet. And wow, that also blew me out of the water. I just got to talk more about this because I'm still reeling from this dinner. I had Eric's first version gourmet back in, was 2018. So that was a bottle of 2017. I have had a bottle of 2018. And tell you truthfully, it was so condensed. The bricks were so high on that. It was super sweet. And I was drinking the wrong way because really that one should have been just really as like a dessert drink. And then I had his 2023, totally different experience. A much rounder, I can't really recall exactly, I want to say nutty experience, but wow. Because I wasn't really digging the other one, the sweet profile. I'm more of a dry cider drinker at this point. But damn, boy, he blew me out of the water. This is it. Whether it's Bordelet or it's another maker in our sphere that we get to know, always keep an open door because we notice that they could get better and better and better. Then, okay, so I'm gonna skip that because I did record some of that, and I bet I'll be releasing some of that audio with Eric, possibly. It might just go out to the patrons of Cider Chat. I have to figure it out, like how much I have there. There's a lot. But he left, and then Agathe was there, and we moved out into the living room area of this hotel. We took over the entire hotel because this was a big tour group of, again, lovely people, so chill. And our last night in Normandy, and she's just sitting in the living room, and we all gathered around, and it was totally impromptu. And she just answered every question that came up and talked about her own style of cider maker and what she's doing there. And it was this symposium with yet another great in Normandy, Agathe Letellier of Manoir, Apreval. She's based out by Honfleur. It's one of our first night visits. And wow, for her to come out and join us and spend time like that was just essence extraordinaire. A lot has happened. Just me talking about it now is just bringing a flood of memories that I'm processing. But I'm going to now switch gears and roll out audio clips from the guests on this tour. They'll tell you a little bit about themselves and some of the highlights. Because really, I see it through a certain lens, and they do too. And both, or I should say all of us, are just kind of like, did that really happen? And you know what? It did.
My name's Ed Campbell and my wife Leslie Wade. We hail from North Georgia and the Southern Appalachians in the Blue Ridge Range.
You're orchardists?
Yeah, we are orchardists, but we're hobby orchardists in the sense we like to understand what can grow in the South and in the Appalachian Mountains, and we like to try different varieties and explore more and more.
And indeed, we have been exploring here in France. So you have some history living in France. Fleur, you grew up as a child for a couple of years?
Yes, as a teenager. My memories are very much of Honfleur, of Lower Normandy, even though Le Havre is in Upper Normandy. The weather of Normandy, windy and rainy and sometimes sunny. Green pastures and green everywhere, with people who are very friendly and open to meet visitors.
Visitors coming to the area. All right, well, I'm kind of curious. Is there anything that's kind of surprised you on this French cider tour, or anything that stands out that you've been, enjoying?
Yes, one of the things is Calvados. The tasting of Calvados. I've had Calvados in the United States. It was pretty raw, but trying the different Calvados domains, which are locally distributed here in France, really found some nice, smooth drinking with Calvados, which would very, very much surprise me. And of course, the cider. I've always loved the cider that comes from France.
I have been so pleasantly surprised and thrilled to be traveling with other Apple nerds, Apple, enthusiasts. Of course, we've been listening to the podcast for a long time and have learned so much that was really foundational to our experience here. But now it's becoming a reality, which is great. But we're traveling we grow fruits. I'm a former board member of the North American Fruit Explorers, which is U.S. and Canada. And so we're traveling with folks that are strawberry growing experts, blueberry growing experts. Many have commercial cideries, but they're small scale. Yeah. And so we're learning so much as aspiring cider makers, again, at the home scale, but also very experimental because we can be at home. It's wonderful to learn from all of the experiences of the people on the tour and to make new friends.
Yeah, that's best. Yeah, become lifelong friends along our travels.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think what's also special is that we are being able to access Calvados and cider that you would not be able to get at home anywhere. And it's because of your relationships, Ria, with these cider makers, with these Calvados producers that is so special, that gives us access to things that we would never be able to experience at home. So thank you.
Well, it's so much fun to be able to share that, my joy and affection for these people in this land, which I know that you are totally connected to also.
Walking through the orchards.
I'm Gary Ellis. I live in New York State with my wife.
Sierra Ellis.
And we're starting up a little orchard in that part of the area.
We could do this forever. It's been great.
I know. Maybe, how can we figure that out?
Yeah, I don't know. Retire early and just hang out with Ria all the time.
Cider, find all the best cafes, meet each other up on the back streets. Yeah.
Sounds like the dream.
Yeah.
For me, visiting Mont Saint-Michel yesterday was a huge deal because I took French in high school, and that's in our textbooks, the pictures. And so for some reason, I always just dreamed of going there. And it finally happened. So that was an unexpected, it's on the itinerary. I knew we were going, but it was surreal to be there in real life.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
It's always surreal when you see Mont Saint-Michel.
Yeah.
It's the colors keep on changing. It was in the fog.
Yes.
And then when we're having dinner looking at it,
out.
it comes out and the blue sky and that green grass is just
and all the
a
sheep
painting.
around. I did not know that they were there, so.
That's the first time I've seen the sheep. They came out special for us. I've seen them before, but not right by the mountain.
On our way back to the restaurant, we saw one of the farmers get on his four-wheeler with his dog, and they were herding the sheep. It was really cool.
It was really cute.
So that was a nice.
And there was the one
added
stubborn
sprinkle.
sheep that wouldn't move, and they just left him.
Really? He just kind of stood there looking.
He did. It was so funny. The windmill was cool too.
The windmill was awesome, where they would move the whole roof of the windmill to orient
and to see
the
it
blades.
running and real, what a good explanation of how that works.
The whole just vibe of the town and the country is absorbed throughout the trip, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's been very good pacing too. I feel like we're not staying anywhere too long, and also not it doesn't feel like we're rushing.
Not stressed
either.
at all.
So, I think that was a big commonality. Everyone was saying that yesterday, and it's been very well paced. So it's Ria's the professional. She's really got this down. But
Wow, merci beaucoup.
Yeah, de rien.
It's just kind of cool seeing the orchards around here because they're all high stem. They all graze animals underneath. And it's just way different than in the U.S. where they take the animals off only 2 weeks before they harvest the apples. And any health inspector in the U.S. would kind of throw a fit over that, even though it's perfectly fine if you're fermenting the cider.
Yeah.
And then also walking through the old Perry orchards with the... and that was really cool just because there's not really Perry trees where we are at all. And so it was really nice walking around. They're all ripe, so we get to try all of them, which is kind of just an experience that you don't get to do at home.
Dancing in the streets.
Marla Limousine from Vancouver Island, Canada.
George Erler.
And you have a brand. You ferment. You make cider. You make iced cider. And why don't we share that with everybody out there in Ciderville?
Yeah, Raven's Mooncraft Cider in Courtney.
And which is about how many hours from the main city that to give people a position?
It's about 3 hours north of Victoria.
Which is a beautiful area to go to, right? You hop on the ferry from Seattle and pop right up to Victoria, and then you're on your way into La La Land. And I've tasted some of the product. It's absolutely delicious.
I don't know that there's one highlight. I think there's many, many, many highlights. And just meeting all these amazing producers over here and seeing these orchards and tasting and eating food and having adventure along the way with things that you don't even expect. It's all just been amazing. Oh yeah, and you're amazing too. It's a love fest. We just heard about you through the podcast, and it's so great to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
It's wonderful to be able to get back inside in the back of the the cidery or the storefront and see the passion and what their love is, what they're trying to do, and their love for cider and cider making. So that is one of the highlights for me, is seeing the back of the house, if you will.
Yeah, usually you step up to the front and, taste the cider, but you don't understand where they come from or what they're trying to create. And when we were in Normandy, of course, there's that Normandy styling, which they so fiercely hold on to and so proud of, and go into Brittany and you get, a whole different type of cider and a color, and yeah, it's just so rich. Everything's so rich. Food is amazing, and cheeses and breads and everything. We think about France. For those people who haven't been before, it's the epitome of French cuisine and French cider, of course.
Learning about the history and the culture of each of the domains was eye-opening for me. That some, like even one domain that we were at was 14 generations. I mean, that's amazing that you have 14 generations doing this, the same thing.
Smelling all the blossoms.
My name is Antoine. I'm from Quebec in Montreal, Canada. I'm a cider enthusiast, a cider learner. I'm very new to cider. I work a little bit in the cider industry. I've been making cider for many years, and I love everything about it. I love the apples. I love the process. Drinking it, of course. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, also in France, drinking all these amazing products, meeting these wonderful makers, and sharing the experience with a lot of passionate people. It's really wonderful to be here.
Kicking up our feet.
I'm Alex Zobler from Connecticut.
And Amy.
Decided to go on the cider tour. I'm a bit of a cider head, and I kind of welcomed the opportunity to broaden my cider palate. And I think it was a really great chance to kind of explore cider with knowledgeable people and getting a chance to meet some of the top dogs of the French cider producers. And it was an opportunity I think I would have never had it not been for the cider tour. So the group of people that we're with, it's really enlightening just being with a bunch of cider producers, with people that really, really know their stuff and can kind of give me insight and flavor profiles and tasting notes that I could not describe myself, that people were better at finding the terminology that kind of improved my ability to kind of understand and appreciate ciders. And why?
I was in France for work, so this is a different vibe.
That's true.
Much better having everything planned for me. I don't have to drive. The cider was great. It was really interesting, the tours. My favorite part was the tasting dinner that we had last night with Eric Bordelet.
Yeah, what did you like about that?
I really enjoyed how well the food was paired with the poires and the ciders, and I thought that was just so well done. We've had a lot of good food in France, and usually our fancy food dinners that we have as we travel are with wine, so it was really nice to have one of those with a cider perspective, and see how well and elevated that could be.
Walking through the orchards.
I'm Kristen Logan.
I'm John Logan. We're from St. Louis, Missouri. We own and operate Black Bear Cider Co. There in St. Louis. And we're here on the French cider tour, where we've been for the last week or so. And we did have the opportunity to fly in a little early and spend a few days in Paris to adjust to the jet lag and the time change before embarking on the tour.
Yeah, I would recommend coming at least a few days early, because you do get caught up on your slate. You're not exhausted for the travel, and you get to actually enjoy yourselves a little bit more because you're all caught up. But obviously not only the beautiful, cideries and the operations and the orchards that we got to see, but just being in France and seeing the countryside and seeing all of the, beautiful surroundings just in general, even just being on the bus, like you just get to see the neatest things. So you can't get that experience at home, now where we're from at least. Yeah. So.
No, and I think also going through the experience with other people on the bus and meeting other makers and cider enthusiasts from around the United States, Anja from Hungary, and you spend that time on the bus between touring the different domains and that time spent with the different cider makers. You have the chance to sort of decompress and discuss on the bus with others and discuss questions, and I think that's really valuable as well. And I was blown away by the different places that we went, Normandy and Brittany and Domfrontais, and I was truly surprised by how different each of their processes were, and different things that they're doing at their location. I thought there would be there are definitely trends across cideries and across makers, but just little things that they change, like the varieties of apples or pears that they're using, and what varieties they're using when they press, and if they're blending before pressing or after pressing or post-fermentation. I was just fascinated by the differences.
Dancing in the streets.
I'm Jeremy Hall.
I'm Erin Chaparro, and we are the co-owners and co-founders of Blossom Barn Cidery, a small orchard-based, farm-based cidery in southern Oregon.
We're not making any cider at all. We only have one perry that has any apples in it at all. Mm-hmm. So everything is either co-fermented and sometimes back-sweetened with fruit besides pears, but it's always less than 10%. And all the pears are local, all either from our orchards or from neighboring orchards.
Mm-hmm. And we have about 20 different varieties of perry pears now on the farm.
We have 13 different varieties of English, French, Romanian, Austrian, Swiss perry pears.
So how was it going to New Cidre?
That was fantastic. Just walking around the orchards and tasting the different fruit and seeing all the old ways of doing things, and seeing that the local government is so supportive of all these different small producers. It really makes us excited about, finding our own way in a different environment and celebrating the fruit that we have in a way that's unique to us.
I think expanding our palate and the vocabulary of what is poiré, and the dinner last night with Eric Bordelet was especially informative about how you can age poiré, and I think we've just begun that process. So we have a perry in our library that's 5 or 6 years old, and that's our oldest one. And so it was really interesting to taste a poiré from 2007 and notice the notes and how it's changing over time. So for me, I'm just learning about the aging process and just that vocabulary to go along with that. Yeah, cool.
And I think, for us, drinking a poiré from Normandy was how our journey started. It was how we decided that, this is our way forward. This is the family transition back to the farm. That's going to be possible. And so to have a fresh take on a lot of perries that are not distributed into the United States, and to be able to taste that, I think really inspired us again to see how beautiful this drink is, how unique it is, and how they do it in a way that's simultaneously easy and natural and clean and bright. How clean all these perries are that we're drinking here is really exciting and inspiring for us.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Smelling all the blossoms.
My name is Joseph Kula. I'm from Syracuse, New York. I've worked in wine. Worked as a cider maker. I'm currently a craft brewer. We came on this trip to be exposed to old world cider culture. The cider world in the United States is a very mixed bags that doesn't seem to have its footing yet embedded into the drinking culture, which still seems to suffer from historical incidences. This was an opportunity to see a different type of mindset and a different type of relationship to a true agricultural product that you have to care about and sort of coax to its end natural expression, if you will. And this was it was already planned out. We didn't have to do the thinking. We got to be along for the ride and just absorb everything and taste it.
Yeah. Melissa Hicks, and I'm from Syracuse, New York. Joe is my spouse, and I am basically a cider enthusiast. I hadn't had a chance to really taste French ciders. Mostly it's been American and English versions of cider, even some Spanish. So I was super excited to come on a trip that would not just let me taste the ciders, but also sort of more understand how they make the ciders here and how they cultivate the apples into the cider that tastes like no other ciders I've had in other countries.
And that's a pretty good learning experience, isn't it?
It is.
You have a good sense of the terroir here now and the style?
Definitely. I feel like if they laid out a bunch of ciders and were like, pick which one you think is French, I think I could do that, And the same thing, like American ciders tend to be more appley and sweet. Same thing with some of the English ciders, but I really find that the French ciders have this definite little bit of different flavor than all the others I've ever tried. So,
cool.
Very cool.
I feel like you can add up all the American ciders that we've ever had, and you still wouldn't get the amount of color that pours out of a single bottle here.
Wow.
They just look different from the start. And I'm also amazed at how much I seriously like poire. Like, we don't have a lot of access to that, and
that's very true.
And whatever we did have, it wasn't even an introduction. This just stands alone, and it is now a thing that I will look for.
Yeah, me too. The poires have just been fantastic here. I mean, I love cider, but poires, I've just never really had them on my radar, and now I do. Absolutely.
They have a sort of a secret personal elegance to them in themselves. So even as, a farmy agricultural product, they're like, they clean up nice. They're
Sweet.
They're amazing presentation.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you for being part of the tour.
Thank you for having us.
We'll come anytime.
All right, I'll be in too.
Kicking up our feet.
So we are Prairie Bear Cider. We're from Alberta, Canada. We're up west of Edmonton, up a little town near Alberta Beach, it's called.
By Alberta Beach?
Alberta Beach, it's called, yeah.
What is Alberta Beach?
It's a fairly sad little beach on a shallow lake in Alberta.
Oh, no. And the name of the cider is
Prairie Bear Cider. Yeah.
And we're Brett and Kelly.
Yeah. So we have a small 80-acre farm out in the area. We grow some of our own apples and have a bit of a mixed operation. We do some haying as well on our land. We started our production facility 2 years ago in 2021, and we're expanding from there, I guess.
Yeah. So why did you come on this tour to begin with? What was
Because I wanted to surprise him for his birthday.
Oh, I didn't know that this was a surprise. A surprise.
I literally kept it a secret until June.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! And I bet you were super surprised by that.
I was very much so.
Wow.
And the winter in Canada is really miserable. So sometimes you just need something to look forward to. And so, making, the plans to come on the cider tour was just kind of like, yeah, this is happening. It's going to be awesome. And I think one of the interesting things, like we've realized being on the tour, in our province, there's only maybe 6 cideries or something like that. So it's really a new thing. And just being able to connect with people from areas where there are a lot more cider production or people who are more established in their operations has been really interesting. Like he even said to me, he's like, it's kind of nice, you don't feel so alone. Like, you know, we connect with people in our area, but because there aren't very many, and I think the oldest cidery in Alberta is like maybe, 5 years old?
Sunny said.
So it's a growing industry, right? And so
it's a growing industry.
Because you're in this kind of early wave of cider exploration, like in a cold, hardy climate, right? Where you don't necessarily have the terroir and everything to be able to make traditional ciders.
As much as some places, so it's literally building from scratch.
So collaboration-wise, like it's been wonderful. Right. Absolutely.
Just a nice way to spend your birthday?
Absolutely. It was amazing. Highlights. I like the ocean, I gotta say. So,
St. Malo.
That was phenomenal.
Great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed St. Malo, and I really enjoyed Honfleur.
Yeah.
That was
How about
nice.
the little castle where we went up and did the cheese tasting also?
Yes.
In that little bay.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I particularly enjoyed, I don't know the name right off the top of my head, but where Estelle and Patrice were.
Yes.
I enjoyed their operation because it's 100% just what it is, right? There's no airs of, pretending to be, like fancy, or like they have the cows and the milk production and they make cider, and like they're just very like salt to the earth people, and like they completely let us into their world.
Absolutely.
Just to like walk
Behind
around
the scenes.
and explore and like please check it out, and it was truly wonderful.
Yeah.
So I really like that one.
That's super special, yeah.
And very inspirational for sure.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy birthday, Brad.
Thank you.
Walking through the orchards.
Hi, this is Joseph Nasi. I'm the founder of Frontier Cider Works in Jefferson, Ohio, and a certified sommelier and absolute apple and cider enthusiast.
You are, yeah.
Currently in Normandy, this beautiful country, rain or shine, and something that has been just absolutely amazing on this trip was the cider dinner with renowned sommelier and cider producer Eric Bordelet. It was absolutely the perfect culmination for this week-long trip through Normandy, really experiencing the nuances of cider and poiré, and pairing it with food just elevated not only the meal and the cider, but also elevated the entire trip, not to be missed.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed the fact that you kept on bringing all these amazing little delectables out onto the picnic tables wherever we were, and you're always walking along with a baguette in your bag.
There's boulangeries everywhere. Get up in the morning, go get a fresh, warm baguette. It's always great to break bread, literally, with people on the trip. And what better way to start off the day than with some fresh bread and some fresh pain au chocolat and a nice cafe. It just starts the day right, and best way to experience France. I've absolutely loved this, and I can't say how awesome it is.
Dancing in the streets.
Bonjour Ria.
Bonjour Pamela.
I'm not going to tell you that bienvenue en France because you already know France really well, but let's say bienvenue again en France, right?
Thank you. I feel very welcome.
As far as I remember, we've been on tour 3 times together.
3 times, yes, yeah.
I have learned a lot about cider thanks to you.
You're a professional cider maker now. You could open your own cidery in Brittany. Yeah.
I didn't tell you that. Well, yeah, maybe I did mention it. A few years ago, we started to do with my brother kind of a Christmas deal. So for Christmas, for example, now, starting from 2018, if I do remember correctly, we decided to exchange apple trees, and we plant the apple tree in our family, like parents and grandparents' field. So we've been doing that for a few years now. So maybe one day.
Well, you never know. But it's nice to always have an apple tree in your backyard, and the more the better. And my mind. So that's fun. Yeah,
Sure.
and you have a long history. I mean, cider you have with your family, right? It's just part of your culture. So
yeah, you're totally right. Actually, as some cider makers did mention it earlier this week, cider, apples are part of our history because we are surrounded by apple trees, pear trees for sure as well. And as far as I remember, when I was young, once a year, like the Bouilleur de Cru was coming to our place after we were pressing the apples to make the cider, and then my grandparents were doing the Calvados, and this is the way everybody was doing it.
It's so natural.
It was natural.
Yeah.
It was part of the
culture
of the things you had to do during the year.
Right. You must have seen in the time that we've been working together, like a change too in the cider.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what are some of those things that you're noticing?
Well, I am noticing, thanks to the new cider makers today, and also, of course, obviously, thanks to the previous we can count on our cider making process, Calvados making process background, but at the same time, we start to open our door, our house, to new specialized cider maker like Eric Bordelet, for example. He's a really inspirational cider maker for sure. So what I see so far is that even if we try to maintain the way we drink cider with a galette, for example, or with a crepe, either we keep on paying a lot of attention on special days like the Chandeleur, the Crepe Day. We talked about the Galette des Rois, the one in January. We also try now to change the way we consider cider, because now we realize that with a nice dessert we can also have a bottle of cider. It's really changing in just the beginning, but I have the feeling that people of my generation are considering it
in a new way, seeing cider
in a new way. And thanks to the new cider makers like Antoine Marois, for example, and Eric Bordelet.
They're elevating the palate.
Yeah. And the view we have about cider. It's not just like a regular, as Agathe said, low alcoholic drink for crepe and galette. It's now like a fine, low alcoholic drink to have for dessert, for pastries, for example, for seafood or for whatever we have.
Oysters,
I can also see that you also help, even if you maybe don't see it, you also help people, because some people have been telling me about that, especially Judith Schiarone, for example. So she was following you a few years ago through your podcast, and when she decided to change her professional life, so she used to do wine, and she started to question herself, and she wanted to do cider, and thanks to your podcast she did start cider, and she got this strength and this inspiration from person like you. Cider Chat, but as well from person like you, like having a lot of consideration about cider.
That's fantastic. Yay. Well, I get inspired by you every time I meet you, Pamela. Thank you so much once again for making this smooth, making this joyful, and just being like the sunshine that we see every day.
Oh, merci beaucoup, Ria. Merci beaucoup à toi, surtout.
De rien.
Here you are.
All these voices from the French Cider Tour 2024. But there's one more. You may be counting up the numbers. This was a full house in so many ways. And yet we had so much spaciousness. Absolutely delightful. But before I roll out from this episode, I really need to share with you some clips from someone who joined us from the country of Hungary. Her name is Antja Gergely. She has a business called Apreval Garden Project, and she is doing a number of things. You're going to be able to hear all about it in an upcoming episode on Cider Chat. But in the meanwhile, Enjoy these little clips where she is helping all of us learn a little bit about Hungarian apples and how to speak the language.
Egészségedre. Egészségedre is a cheers. A cheers.
Egészségedre, mispronounced, means to your bottom, but should be bottoms up. But maybe not. No. To your bottom. Who says to your bottom? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It's to the bottom of the cup.
The bottom to the bottom of the cup. Right, yeah, right.
Leave it that way.
That's what I meant, everybody, as the whole restaurant's laughing. You know, classic.
So this is the Kanizsai apple, which I really like. By October it goes kind of yellowy, and then you put it again, you put it into storage. I just put it somewhere cool. I don't have a special storage for apples, but basically, I mean, that's the old way. And then it goes yellow. And this one is just plain sweet when you eat it. It's really funny. And then I discovered by accident that it makes a really good tannic cider. It's lacking acid, so you have to blend it with something else. But it's really nice as a cider. I don't like to eat it because it's just sweet, but then somehow it becomes a nice cider. But it's not quite ripe yet.
And what's this one called?
Kanizsai.
Well, there you have it. Now you too know how to say cheers in Hungarian. Let's all practice together. Egészségedre. Let me try one more time. Egészségedre. Make sure you say it the right way, because you don't want to say to your bottoms. You know, hey, maybe you'll make some friends. If they're anything like Anja and the rest of the crew on the French Totally Cider. Oh, I'm a little punchy. To France, you know. You never know what could happen. Once again, egészségedre. I love it. And we learned a little bit about an apple variety.
Kanizsai.
You're going to be hearing more from Anja coming up, and she'll be talking about that apple variety again, if I recall correctly. But, you know, like I said, I have to go through the reams, so stay tuned for that. I have one more audio clip to share for now from this French Cider Tour 2024. It took place in the lower level of an 11th century castle that we're all moving into. And I heard a little sound in the background coming out. I think it was actually Anja who started it, who was just hankering to sing a little song with the group. And we went with it. And I think there's going to be a video up to a little bit of it at the Cider Chat social media channels. So do check that out also. But in the meanwhile, you could just listen to it. And I encourage you to sing along with all of us. And if you're inspired to come along on a Totally Cider tour, do send an email this way to info@ciderchat to get your name on the waiting list for the next cider tour rolling out and about into Ciderville.
Ria?
Yes, Medlars?
We had a lovely time.
I know, we sure did. Memories that will last us a lifetime.
Roger that.
Yeah, Mr. Quince. Roger that. Hey, and by the way, has anyone seen Perry Pear?
I think he's hanging out with Eric Bordelet. I last saw him on the roof of Eric's car.
Oh my God. All right, well, look, that pear knows how to get around.
Oh, those pears.
You got that right, Mr. Quince. We'll see him one way or the other, either somewhere here, across the pond, or back home, for sure.
Uh-huh.
All right, should we head out?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. And with that, I leave you here. This is Ria Windcaller signing off for now. Looking forward to seeing you in Ciderville.
We like orchards and having fun. There's a reason why we do it like this. There's a reason why we drink it like this. There's a reason why we do it like this. There's a reason why we drink it like this. Yeah, right.
Yeehaw!